7 a.m. Let's rise and shine. Sun talks money, the future's aligned. Grab your coffee, let's take a ride. It's wealth and wisdom, time will rise. Mr. Educator, team sharing the wealth, building things you should do. From trust to breaking, it's all much. Your guide to what is money and trust. Legacy, life, secure it right. Dreams take shape with every insight. Rules and assets, life insurance plans, building for your future with expert hands. Slow talk, money and more. Raising wealth with knowledge galore. Asset protection, plans to grow. Dream and watch your dreams overflow. From day to day, you trust to life. Breaking generational wealth divides. Healthcare directives, banking tips. We're here to help your fortune eclipse. From day to day, you trust to life. Breaking generational wealth divides. Healthcare directives, banking tips. We're here to help your fortune eclipse. So now it's time to run. So wisdom's your return. Invest, protect, and thrive for sure. Signing off is gold, talks money and more.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. It's time to rise and shine for another edition of So Talks Money and More. I am your host, Dr. Sabrina Edmond Williams, educator, author, and investor. Opening minds and closing contracts. I am so noted and I am so excited and so delighted to be here on this third Monday in August. Okay, we got to go through that whole opening again. Now we are live on air. Good morning, good morning. It is time to rise and shine for another edition of So Talks Money and More. I am your host, Dr. Sabrina Edmond Williams, educator, author, and investor, opening minds and closing contracts. I am so noted. I am so excited and so delighted to be here this third Monday in August. You know what? Hey, the clock is counting backwards. The time is getting nearer. It is the week of InvestFest and the All Black National Conference. Yes, Dr. Williams is packing up and getting ready to head to Atlanta, Georgia. I tell you, I've been talking about it, and now it is time to be about it. We are looking forward to heading to Atlanta. We ask that you, our listening audience, lift us up in prayer for safe travel, that we will get there safely, take care of business, and come on back home to the SIP safely. We thank you. Again, we solicit prayers and we thank you for your support. Those of you who have indicated that you too will be at InvestFest, we look forward to seeing you there. Now, I've got to jump into this show today because we got some good stuff that we want to talk about. The last few weeks, if you've been tuning in to the show, you know what we've been talking about. But if you're just tuning in today for the first time, we want to welcome you to the show. Whether you are joining us via the radio, WMPR 90.1 or WGDQ 93.1 FM down in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, or if you are viewing us via Facebook, good morning, Facebook, or if you're viewing us on YouTube, good morning, YouTube. You know what we've been talking about. We've been talking about the credit game. And you know what? This is some good stuff. For those of you who've missed the previous shows, you have missed some good stuff. You can go back and go to my social media and join that conversation over there on social media to get caught up. But today, we are going to stay right here. You know why? Because I think this is an extremely relevant and important topic that needs to be put at the forefront of our conversation in the Black community. It deeply impacts our ability to build wealth. And that's what we're all about, trying to teach our community how to build, protect, and properly transfer our wealth. Now, based on the feedback that I have received over the last few weeks, I don't think I'm the only one that's of that mindset. Many of you have reached out to me via email, via direct messages on social media, by phone calls to let me know that you are enjoying the conversation. So we're going to stay right here because there's a lot of things that can be said. There's a lot of things that can be taught when it comes to credit. And one of the things that I would like for us to think about today, for those who find themselves in a situation where they're struggling with their credit, let's just kind of share some tips today on rebuilding your credit after you have had a financial setback. Because the reality is, life happens to all of us. Any of us could find ourselves in a situation where, we don't have very good credit, or it may be that we're trying to establish credit. There are a lot of people out there that don't even have credit. So let's talk about how to rebuild or how to build. Now, last week, if you were tuned in, you may recall that we talked about some common credit missteps that negatively impact our credit scores. One of the examples that we used was that overlooked payment. We get busy. Dr. Williams is guilty of it. I can sit here in full transparency and tell you I've done it before. Get busy and forget to make that payment. Realize, oh my goodness, I'm a day late, which means it's going to cost me something. Now, at a minimum, that late payment will result in a fee. You see that little $29 or $39. One time may not be that bad, but if you're doing that month after month after month, that adds up. So, at a minimum, you get that late fee assessed. But now, depending on how long it takes you to remember that you missed that payment, it can result in a 30-day late, which would ultimately impact your credit score very negatively. You could lose, maybe 50 to 100 points behind something like that. So, those missteps, we call them missteps, they can indeed be costly when it comes to our credit score. But I don't want to leave you right there. I'm not going to just paint the negative side of it. I got to show you the positive. There is still some good news, even when things like that happen. Those missteps, although costly, are not permanent. Remember, we talked about in our first week how that score will fluctuate from month to month, or even within the month. You pull your credit 1 week, you'll have a certain credit score. You might pull it 2 weeks later, and your credit score has changed. It fluctuates. So it's not permanent when you make those little missteps. With the right information, the right steps that you take, and a little bit of patience. You may have to exercise a little bit of patience. But with those things, you can rebuild your credit score, improve your financial reputation, and work toward that next big financial goal. Okay, whatever that is. That may be a car for some, that may be a home for some. In my case, a lot of times I'm trying to improve my score because I want to go out and make another investment. So there are things that we can do. Now, before we dive into credit building or rebuilding, it's important that we revisit how credit scores are calculated or computed. So let's look at this quick breakdown of the 5 key factors that affect your score. First up is payment history. That impacts 35% of your overall score. Remember that credit score can range anywhere from a low of 300 points all the way up to 850 points. Now, your payment history, in short, is just how well, how frequently, how intentional you are about paying your bills and paying them on time. Not paying them on time comes at a cost. So just be mindful of that. And I'm not going to belabor that. We're not going to stay here very long, you guys, because we've talked about that. Payment history is 35% of that score. Credit utilization. How much of your overall credit you're using is 30% of the score. The length of your credit history. How long have you been doing business? How long have there been things reporting on your credit report? That makes up 15% of your overall score and the mix of the credit that you have. Do you just have credit cards? Do you have some mortgages on there? What type of credit is being reported? The mix of credit makes up 10% of your overall score, and new credit, or what we know as inquiries, that makes up 10% of your overall score. So that's how you can fluctuate between that 300 mark and that 850 mark. Now, when any of those 5 areas is out of balance, so to speak, your score can dip. It can dip. But again, there is good news. Every one of those things, everything that we talked about, the history, the payments, the utilization, all of that is fixable with the right information, the right tips, and being intentional about your credit. Now, the one thing that I am going to say before we even jump into these tips, I suggested the first week. Again, I reminded us last week. I'm encouraging us again this week. Go to annual credit report, creditreport.com, and get your copy, your free copy of your credit report. It's free, you guys. And the thing is, the rules have changed. It used to be annually that we could access that credit report. Now, since the pandemic, we can actually get a copy of our credit report every week. Every week. So you can stay on top of what's going on with your credit. And I sometimes wonder, Mr. Armstrong, I'm here in the studio, I'm on air, on the radio, and I have people telling me all the time, we're listening to you, we're listening to the show, we're tuned in. Good morning to my listeners that are tuned in this morning. And although I appreciate that, you guys know I certainly appreciate the support. The question that I always have is, how many of you are hearing me? You're listening, but are you really hearing me? Is what I'm saying spurring you into action? Into action. Are you doing the things that I am asking you, telling you, encouraging you, pleading with you to do? Remember, Dr. Williams has this saying, education is fine, information is fine, but where there is no application of that information, the situation does not change. So it would be great. Some of you that are on social media, whether you're on YouTube or on Facebook, I'd like to hear from you. How many of you have implemented any of these things that we are talking about? Have you pulled your credit report and looked at it? Have you found that you have any disputable items? What are you doing with the information, with the education that we are providing for you? I would like to know that. So I'm going to sit that right there, and we're going to jump on back over here into these tips for rebuilding your credit. Want to do this kind of quickly because I got a treat for you. I have a guest that will be joining us in the second half of the show, and I'm looking forward to your hearing from him, not just from Dr. Williams, but hearing from my guest. Now, the tip number 1 is, let's look at that payment history category. Improving your payment history. Well, it goes without saying that, if you want to improve your payment history, pay your bills, pay them on time. Making on-time payments significantly improves your credit score. Now, for some of us, if we are struggling, I don't take that lightly. Dr. Williams is not beating anybody over the head. You got to deal with your stuff where you are, and I get that. But just know that if you become a little bit more intentional about making those payments and making them timely, you will find that you can impact that credit score. Now, one of the things that may be helpful for your accounts, if this is an option for you, is to set up auto pay on those credit cards and those loans that you have. Most of the lenders today will ask you that. And a lot of times they'll even offer some incentive. They will say you might be able to save $5 a month for setting up auto pay. And that helps not only them, but it helps you as well, because it makes sure that you are making your payments timely. So please consider that if that is an option for you. Now, another thing that you may want to consider doing is making a payment mid-cycle. That will lower your balance that is actually reported to the credit bureaus on a monthly basis, which helps with your overall utilization of your credit. And one of the things that you may or may not know, and Mr. Armstrong, you've been around a long time. I don't know if you know this, because I'm not ashamed to say this is something that I just recently learned myself. Making your credit card payments a few days before the statement closing date, not the due date. There's a difference. If you pull out those statements, they will have both a due date on there and a statement closing date. If you make that payment before that statement closing date, you're doing yourself a big favor. You know why? Because your payment is reported to the bureaus based on that closing date, not the due date. Isn't that interesting? The statement closing date. So making that payment on that date can lower the amount that's actually being reported to the bureaus. That balance is lower, and that helps you to build your credit faster. So if I could share anything and encourage you to do anything to help you rebuild that credit and to start rebuilding that credit a lot faster, pull out those credit card statements. Look at the closing date. Get you a highlighter. Be intentional. Highlight the closing date, not the due date, and make that payment a few days before that closing date, and watch that score. Challenge to you. Don't just take my word for it. Try it and let me know. Call into the show, email us, text us, put something in the chat, and let us know whether or not you saw an improvement of your credit score. Now, moving on, tip number 2, let's talk about credit utilization. Again, that means how much credit is available to you versus how much you are actually using. It's a simple math equation, you guys. Let's go all the way back to when did we start doing fractions? What grade? Second grade, third grade? I know there are a lot of people that probably don't like math. I'm not one of them. I'm a geek, you guys. I like numbers, okay? But it's a simple formula for determining your credit utilization ratio. You divide your total outstanding credit card balances by your total credit limits, and then you multiply by 100. It's a simple fraction, okay? Now, under 30% utilization, we talked about this, that's considered acceptable. That's really where you want to be, under 30% utilization. Under 10% utilization is ideal. That's the sweet spot, as they say. That's ideal. Credit score optimization happens around that 10% mark. But just know that if you get up there over 50%, it may significantly hurt your score. So again, we got to address that. What do we do to fix that? Of course, paying down your existing balances would help a lot with that utilization. One of the things you might want to consider doing is breaking that payment up or trying to make multiple payments throughout the month. For those that have the little side hustles, if that side hustle money is not money that is already accounted for in your budget, you may want to take some of that and make an extra payment to pay down that balance so that it will lower your utilization. Now, another thing that you may be able to do, depending on the length of time that you've had your credit cards, request a credit limit increase. Request a credit limit increase. It's not about having access to it to use it. It's about having access to it so that you can impact that ratio. Okay, access to more credit actually lowers your utilization ratio. Okay. Now, all you have to do is call your credit card providers up and tell them you want to see if you could get a credit line increase. Sometimes the answer will be yes, other times it will be no, but you don't know what you can get if you don't ask. Now, this is especially true for those who have had your credit cards for a long time. Call them up. There's a number on the back of that card. Call them up and ask. Now, another tip for lowering that utilization is spreading your purchases across multiple cards as opposed to running up one card. Not sure if you knew that, but just think about that. As opposed to having, let's say, a $500 balance on one card, if you have three cards, if you split that utilization up, that 500 over those three cards, you can significantly impact your credit utilization. So again, those are some things you want to think about to help lower the utilization ratio, because we're trying to get to 30% utilization, certainly, but 10% is where we really, really want to be on that utilization, if at all possible. Now, here's a pro tip right here. I'm going to tell you about utilization. Even for those of you who pay your cards in full each month, remember again that balance reported to the credit bureaus is based on your closing date, your statement closing date. So try to make that payment early to lower your utilization. So if you have not heard anything that I've said so far, let's go back. Your statement closing date. That's the buzzword for today. Pull out those credit card statements, highlight that closing date, and try to make a plan for making that payment by that date. Now, last week we talked about this, but I want to go back and revisit this a little bit further here today. Those old accounts, please do not close those accounts out, you guys. Don't close them out, even if you are not using them. And this really does impact your credit length, the length of credit. Remember, we talked about that breakdown, and the credit history, the length of your credit history accounts for 15% of your overall score. So I know it is tempting to look at some old cards and say, hey, I'm not using these cards anyway, so I may as well go ahead and close them out. You don't want to do that. I went through the breakdown of the ratio and how that works last week. For those of you that were not able to listen to the show live, please go back. My shows are posted to my YouTube page. I Am So Noted. I Am So Noted. That's IAMSEWNOTED. So go back and look at last week's show, and we did the example of how to compute your utilization ratio. But when you close out those old accounts, you are limiting the amount of credit that you have access to. Your credit history again makes up 15% of your score. So you want to keep those old accounts open. Remember, utilization makes up 30% of your score, and closing out those old accounts can impact both the history, the length of the credit that you've had, and your score. So please be mindful of that. And it is especially true, you guys, if you are planning to make a major purchase, like a like a car or a home over the next few months or even a year or two. Don't close out those accounts at any cost. Please keep them open. Now, one of the things that I want to talk to you about is communications. This is another tip, communicating. I know sometimes when we're dealing with our credit, we get overwhelmed, especially if we have experienced some type of financial setback. It can feel very overwhelming to us. I get it. I understand. Every one of us stumbles from time to time. but we have to take ownership. We have to take ownership of that stumble and begin working toward a solution. Working toward a solution. That is so powerful. That is so powerful because it's a way, when we take ownership, when we start communicating with these creditors instead of avoiding them, that's a way to show these lenders that we are serious about repairing our credit. So don't be afraid. I actually shared with you my experience, although it was not one that helped me to keep the credit score that I had, but it did provide some relief for me because I was able to talk with the creditors and get placed into some of the programs that they have. And over time, I was able to work myself out of that. But I just want you to know that there are things out there that you can do, but they do start with communications. We have not because we ask not. That's the word. We have not because we ask not. So I'm encouraging you to start asking for what you want, ask for what you need. Now, when you call up your creditors, one of the things you may want to ask for is goodwill adjustments. And this is especially true if you are pretty much always on time and you rarely ever miss a payment, but life happened and you forgot to make that credit card payment. Call them and ask them for that one-time courtesy. And it could be one time a year. This year, in the last 12 months, I have not missed the payment, but I just had something to come up and I forgot. Ask them to reverse that $29 or $39 late fee. You never know what they will say. Most of the time that I've asked, I don't know that I've ever asked and they told me no, that they would not reverse it for me. So asking will a lot of times result in you getting. So I'm going to encourage you to ask for that goodwill adjustment. Now, another thing that you may want to ask for when talking to your creditors is what type of payment or forbearance plans are available. Many lenders have these hardship programs. When you go through situations where you can't make your payment, or let's say if your payment is $500 a month, but you experience a job loss, or we know medical debt is one of those things that can totally wipe us out. We have an illness, something to happen, and we get way off track with paying our bills. Well, there are payment plans or hardship programs that many lenders have that they will set you up for or set you up with, but you have to communicate. You have to call them and ask them about these programs. They're not going to just reach out to you and say, hey, we could put you in this program. No, you have to initiate that conversation. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. A lot of times they will tell you, you will not be able to continue using your card during the period of time that you are in the program. You will not be able to continue using the card. But a lot of times they will be helpful to you in that they will report your information, your payments to the bureaus, and that will help with that credit score. So we want to encourage you to ask for what you want, ask for what you need. And then the third thing that we can ask for with our lenders are credit building resources that these specific lenders may have, or credit rebuilding resources that they may have, any type of in-house programs that they have. And that's one of the things that our guest who will be joining us, Mr. Rico Wells from Community Bank, will be joining us in the second hour. And he's going to talk to us about a program that Community Bank is offering. Remember, Dr. Williams encouraged you, I informed you, I invited you to attend a credit workshop that was held just a few weeks ago at Christ Covenant Church in Clinton that I attended. Mr. Wells did an excellent job presenting the information, and those that were in attendance were blessed in that you were provided a certificate when you completed the training that he did, which allows you to then take it into any branch of Community Bank and open up a checking account with the bank. Now, one of the things that Mr. Wells did that I certainly appreciated was talk about how this program that they have with this credit workshop can be helpful to people who need to rebuild their credit. And I'm not going to steal his thunder because he'll be joining us in the second half of the hour. But just know that this program is being offered through Community Bank, but there are likely a lot of banks out there that host specific programs, similar programs. That's the word. I'm getting my words kind of mixed up here this morning, getting excited about Mr. Wells joining us, but that have similar programs. A lot of times they may be called pledge loans that you can take, and they will be helpful in helping you to establish credit or reestablish credit. And we want you to be informed that these things exist, know that they exist, and don't be afraid to go in and ask for what you need. Now, with that being said, I'm looking at the clock. It is 7:30. I know we need to take a quick commercial break. On the other side of this break, Mr. Wells is going to be joining us. I'm going to allow him to talk for a few minutes about the program that they have available through Community Bank. Now, just know that Mr. Wells is going to be joining us via phone, so you won't be able to call in and ask him questions directly while he's here on the line. But if you would like to call in after he leaves air, please feel free to do so. I would love the engagement. Remember, this is a dialogue. It's not just about this monologue. Dr. Williams puts out the monologue to educate you and inform you, but I certainly love hearing from you because I got to know where you are, what you're doing, and what we can do to help you. With that being said, Mr. Armstrong, I'm going to throw it back to you. Let's go ahead and go to a station break.
This program has been underwritten by Unity Learning Center. Here are 5 facts about Unity Learning Center. We provide 2 meals and a snack per day. We teach the bigger curriculum. We have experienced and dedicated employees. We offer a safe environment. We offer after-school care. Here's an extra one. We teach. We don't babysit. Unity Learning Center, 6045 Highway 18 West in Jackson, Mississippi. Give Ms. Armstrong a call today at the phone number 601-922-6003. That's 601-922-6003. WMPR is proud to have Unity Learning Center as an underwriter.
All right. Thank you so much for that, Mr. Armstrong. Now, while we're waiting for Mr. Wells to call in, I want to go ahead and just acknowledge some of our viewers on both YouTube and Facebook. Good morning to my good friend, Mr. Curtis Body, who has tuned in this morning to the show. My classmate down in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, Mr. Kimball Longino. Good morning to you. Hattiesburg is again in the house. Miss Linda Gaddis is tuned in to us this morning. Good morning to you. Again, JDC is in the house. My homegirl, Miss Deidre Howard, is in the house. Good morning. And my friend, I guess she's still my friend. I've been working her nerves, Miss Sharon Day. Lord have mercy. Thank the Lord for friends. I tell you, if you don't have some, get you some, because I got some good ones. Even when I call and throw stuff on their plate at the last minute, they fuss me out, but they still help me out. Thank you, Miss Day. And I have to share her comment this morning. She is not just a hearer of the word, she's a doer of the word. She says she went and pulled her credit score, her credit report, the very first day we started this conversation 2 Mondays ago. Thank you for being a doer of the word, my friend. I'm going to jump over to Facebook. My cousin down in Summerall, as we call it, Summerall, Mississippi, Miss Melinda Griffith. is tuned in to us this morning via Facebook. My classmate, Miss Carla Holloway, is tuned in and watching us this morning. Thank you so much. JDC, I just love the support that you guys are giving me. Here's another JDC alum from, she's all the way over in Atlanta, Georgia, Miss Quintina Price. I'm so looking forward to reconnecting with you, my friend, this upcoming weekend. Thank you. Thank you. Miss Lisa Williams is watching us this morning. Thank you. Thank you for tuning in. Now, again, as we wait for Mr. Wells to call in, I want to just jump over to another conversation because we're talking about rebuilding credit, but we're also talking to those that don't have any credit at all. Okay. If your credit is non-existent, these are things, the tips that we have shared are things that you may be able to benefit from in some instances, and in others, not so much. So if you have what's called a phantom credit score, that is, you don't even have one. You really don't have one. Remember, your credit score can range from 300 at a low up to 850. But if you don't have one, there are some things that you need to do as well. But we can't get into that because our guest is now calling. We'll try to circle back to that. Hold on one moment. Good morning, caller. You're on the air. Mr. Wells?
Yes.
Good morning. Good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Thank you for taking my call.
Thank you for calling in. You know, I have been talking nonstop about that wonderful, wonderful credit workshop that you hosted just a couple of weeks ago. You did an excellent job, and I certainly invited and informed our WMPR listening audience as well as our Facebook and YouTube viewing audience to attend the workshop. Not so sure that any of them were able to do so, but it wasn't because they did not know Mr. Wells. I assure you they knew what was going on. But I was so excited after I came back. We picked up the mantle that you were holding, and we began a conversation here on air about the importance of credit and rebuilding credit. And we know that you are there at the bank. I would like for you to kind of briefly, we don't have a lot of time here on air, but I would like for you to kind of share some tips. You mentioned that program that you were discussing there was an opportunity to rebuild credit. So I'm going to yield and throw this to you and let you just kind of talk to our audience, and just know that you're on two different radio stations. You're here locally at WMPR 90.1 FM, WGDQ, which is in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, and Facebook and YouTube are listening to you this morning, Mr. Wells. So we're going to throw this to you. No pressure, no pressure. None at all. We're going to throw it to you and let you just kind of talk about the program that you have and the importance of rebuilding.
Well, I want to thank you for the opportunity. Community banks have been out here toiling regarding financial literacy for a long time. And so it is so important that we all have traditional banking. Now, an individual, you can use other banking services, those fintech companies, but they are not banks. So when you get ready to go and you get ready to buy a house, or you're trying to get a loan for a small business or what have you, and the bank says, well, you have no credit. You have no credit history. You have no credit lines or anything like that. Then say, well, hey, I've been doing banking services with fintechs, or I don't even really want to call their names, but other companies, and they're not financial service. Well, they're not banks. They're not credit unions, what have you. So I'm always encouraging individuals to try to do banking with traditional companies like community banks. But number one, your business credit is your personal credit. I tell everybody, start working on your personal credit. You get your account with the bank, a checking account, a savings account. Build the relationships with those banks, with those financial institutions, and then you go from there. Sometimes people say, hey, what about credit cards? Credit cards have their place, but you want to start off, especially if you have, let's say, for instance, not been too responsible for it with your traditional bank or what have you. Let's say you have something out there on check systems. With our program we have here, the community credit program, we have a class. You come in, you do the class. It's usually a 3-hour class. We talk about checking accounts, savings accounts. We talk about establishing credit. We talk about building credit. We talk about managing the credit that you have and managing the money that you wind up having. And once you wind up finishing that class, we give you a certificate. That certificate is good for 90 days. You can come into any local office. We don't call them branches, but come into any office and present that certificate along with a few other documents, and we will open up a checking account, a savings account, and if you would like to, small dollar loan. And with that small dollar loan, we encourage individuals, if you have had problems in the past, or if you are going to payday lenders or what have you, try to pay those payday lenders off and get out of that rat race, whereas with those type of companies, and kind of come back home to traditional banking. So when you get ready to do that large business deal, whereas if you're trying to build credit, or you're trying to start a business, or trying to buy a house or something like that, you have a solid foundation.
Okay, Mr. Wells, I want to address something because this is my platform is all about education, and I like to make sure that our listeners understand the words that are coming out of our mouth. And I need to go back. I don't want to gloss over something you said, so I'm gonna do it this way. You said something about the check system, and I just want to make sure that everybody knows exactly what he was saying. So for those individuals who have messed up, okay, we talked about missteps last week. If you have written quote unquote bad checks, that has really hurt your financial reputation, lenders don't take that too kindly, you guys. It's no different than if somebody did you dirty. If they borrow money from you and did not repay you, a lender keeps a record of that as well. So what Mr. Wells is saying, with this program that they have ways of knowing if you have written bad checks, or and no judgment. Again, this is about education. We're not judging you at all. We're saying that you can rebuild from that. You can bounce back from that. But just know that they do keep records of that, and it doesn't have to necessarily be at that bank. Okay, it doesn't necessarily have to be at that bank. So if you went to Trustmark and you wrote a lot of bad checks to Trustmark, and you were not, you didn't take care of that, just know that other banks know, including Community Bank, they know what's going on, but they're saying we're willing to work with you and give you a second chance. Let's fix this. Is that what I'm understanding, Mr. Wells?
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. Let me be really clear about this.
Mm-hmm.
All banks want to do business with the communities that they're serving. All banks, okay? But when you walk out on a responsibility, you come in, you get a checking account, you get a savings account, you do a loan or something like that, and you walk away from those responsibilities and not pay that financial institution back, then of course we keep records. And when it comes down to checking accounts, there's something called check systems. And so if you owe any financial institution, then that record is out there. And a lot of times when you're ready to come into a financial institution, we check that. And we tell you, hey, you owe Bank A, you owe Bank B, or you owe Bank C. And you need to pay that bank prior to opening up an account with Community Bank. But with this program, what we try to do It's more like a second chance program. Even if you wind up on another bank, once you wind up taking the community credit class, that 3 hour class, you learn about managing your money. You learn about being more responsible for as with that checking account and with that savings account. Then, we will, even if you wind up on another bank, we will, do that checking account, savings account, and try to put you back on track to have a more traditional banking relationship for us with us.
Okay.
And then we wind up moving forward.
Okay.
And hopefully, you start doing that. And then after we build that relationship, you build that credit up or what have you, then you won't need that program anymore. You have a bank relationship. Then let's say when that hot water wind up going out, you need that $1,800. Then you're not coming in on a program. I already have a relationship with you all, and then you can do a small loan or a loan to get those. If you need that $1,800 for that hot water tank. So that's the goal behind the class. It's really to educate the community on just managing your dollars and having that traditional relationship with the bank.
Okay, people, my people, that's some good stuff. He said relationships matter. Sometimes in our youth, and you don't have to be young. That's not what I'm saying here. It's not about age, it's about knowledge. Okay. But sometimes in our youth, we don't have the information to make wise decisions. And it's not necessarily that we are trying to scheme or scam or do anything illegal, unethical, or immoral, but sometimes we don't make the best decisions when it comes to managing our finances or when it comes to taking care of our financial responsibilities. Okay. So if that is you, if you have been there, if you find yourself there right now, what I'm going to encourage you to do is reach out to a community bank. Find out where their programs are. And with that being said, Mr. Wells, when will your next community credit workshop be held, and where will it be held?
Now, that's a good question. We have these classes throughout the Jackson metro area. And we partner with organizations. We partner with churches. We partner with civic organizations, with fraternities, sororities, whoever would like to partner for us with us. And usually what happens is that partnership, that organization say, hey, we have 20 people, we have 30 people, we have how many other people, what have you. And then we say, okay, well, we like to do the classes in the community. You do have some organizations or some banks, they have some, a program just like we have it, but they do theirs online. We prefer to do ours for it in the community. So we actually come to your church. We actually come to what organization, you say, okay, we're going to partner with you. We do the class and kind of go from there. I can give you my phone number, and whoever would like to take the class, they can give me a call, and then I can refer them to one of the classes that's going to be happening for us in the metro area.
Okay, well, if you don't mind sharing it, go ahead, sir.
Yes, it's 601 706 0160. And again, my name is Rico Wells.
Okay, you kind of went out there at the end. Can you repeat your number again, please?
Yes, it is Community Bank, and my phone number is 601 706 0169.
Okay. Again, listeners, it's 601 706 0169. And this is Mr. Rico Wells with Community Bank. If your church or your organization should find that a program such as this, a credit workshop, will be helpful to those in your congregation or in your community. Mr. Wells is saying community bank is not just the name, they are about the community, and they will be happy to come in and do a workshop for you as well. So please give him a call, give him an opportunity to come in. We are trying to educate our people about second chances and how to rebuild themselves if they've fallen off. And for those that are trying to establish credit. And I just kind of got into that little conversation about those that have non-existent credit. I'm going to give you we got about 60 seconds here, Mr. Wells, for this topic. But for, let's say, our younger people that don't have any credit, with this program that you're offering, this workshop, would it be helpful to someone like that? Some of our, got a lot of graduating seniors this year, those that are just going to college. Would that be helpful for them?
It's the perfect program for individuals. You just finishing school, you just finishing college, and you're getting ready to stick your toe in the pool of life. It is perfect. It is perfect. You get that checking account, you get that savings account. You may not have to do the small dollar loan. You may not want to do the small dollar loan or what have you. But if you say, you know what, I want to do that. You have a job, pay that loan back on time, every time, and then we report that positive pay history back to Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian, and you build your credit file. One of the main things that I tell everybody, is how do I build my credit? What do I need to do? Pay your bills on time. That's number one. Pay your bills on time. I ask this question all the time when I'm teaching a class, and people think this is a trick question, but it's really, really not. I say, when is rent or the mortgage late? And there's so many different answers. A lot of times people say, after the 5th of the month, or somebody say after the 14th of the month. And I always say, no. Rent is due on the 1st, and mortgages are due on the 1st, and they're late on the 2nd. And they say, well, what about grace period? That's what it is. It is a grace period. Now, you may not be deemed, or you may not have to pay a late fee to after the 5th or to after the 14th, but that payment is late on the 2nd. And so we want to burn that in our memory and know that we need to pay things on time or before time. Mm-hmm. I always encourage pay them 4 times. And so you have that positive pay history or what have you. And it's not in the computers. One of the things that I really, really love about Community Bank, we just celebrated 120 years of being around. And a small bank that started in Forest, Mississippi, and really have kind of morphed into a larger bank now, and we're in 4 states, and we're doing very, very, very well for us in the community. But when it comes down to banking, it still has that small town feel. It still has that, when you wind up going through the door, we know your name. And so we encourage individuals, try local and move forward when it comes down to your banking needs, because we want to, for our farmers out there, we want to help you buy that tractor. For the entrepreneur, when it comes down to barbers or stylists or what have you, we want to help you get that chair. That plumber, we want to help you get, whatever you wind up needing. We want to establish that relationship with you, and we want to grow for it with you. And so if you're, just finishing college or what have you, let's say, for instance, you are married or you're not married, you don't have children or you do have children. We want to grow with your family and be your banker, basically for life. And so I just want to encourage individuals to, everybody has a doctor, everybody, has a lawyer, when you wind up needing one or what have you. You want to try to establish a banking relationship as early as possible. So when you get ready to do those big things like buy a house or start a business or what have you, you already have someone in your corner and can help you navigate through the financial world.
Well, we certainly thank you for joining us today, Mr. Wells. Again, I can't say enough about what you're doing in the community with your, excuse me, with your workshop, trying to educate the community and trying to provide an opportunity for us to rebuild when we fall down. Now, right before I let you go, I do know you and I have discussed some things that we're doing. You know that I am a very big advocate for the proper transfer of our wealth. And I know that Community Bank is doing some things around the topic of heirs property. And I want to just give you the last few minutes here. I think, again, I'm looking at the clock, so my time is ticking. I need you to wrap this up in about 60 seconds. This workshop that's coming up on tomorrow, I believe, in Indianola. Can you tell our audience about it for those that may be in that area or have family members in that area?
Yes, but I'm going to make a shameless plug for the two offices that we have here in the Jackson metro area. We have an office off of Old Ken Road, and we have an office off of Lakeland. So I wanted to make sure I make 1665 Lakeland Drive and 6158 Old Ken Road. So I didn't want to not talk about that.
Okay.
We will have a workshop on tomorrow, which is August the 19th at the CAP Technology Center, and it will be on if you, let's say, for instance, you wind up staying in Big Mother's house, the property's been passed down generation after generation after generation. You live there, you've been taking care of it, you're paying the taxes, you're doing the insurance or what have you, and a big storm happens and you need a roof. And you wind up coming to the bank, and we said, well, we want to have the property for collateral, or you have to put the property up for collateral. You cannot do that because it is not yours. The title is not clear. It does not have your name for it on the title. So that's what we're talking about when we're talking about heir property. And so we partnered with North Mississippi Rural Legal Services with the grant. We wound up getting that grant for $100,000 on last year. And they have been holding different workshops throughout the North Mississippi region. And so we have an office in Indianola, and we will have that workshop tomorrow at 5:30 at the CAP Center. The address for that is 920 Highway 82, Indianola, Mississippi. And if you need more information on that, you can always give me a call at that phone number I gave you for us this morning. We're going to talk about, the things that we can do. There's no expense for the person that's trying to get their property clear. That's what that grant will be paying for. And so those attorneys will be there, and they will be using those dollars of the grant to help a person get their property title straight. And so it's very, very important that if you know someone who is in that area, or if it's you yourself, you can come to that workshop, and hopefully we'll be able to help you.
All right. Well, we thank you, sir. Thank you for your time. Certainly, Community Bank has been very, very beneficial to me. I have developed a relationship with them. They have financed properties for me that have allowed me to invest here locally in the Jackson, Mississippi area. And I thank you for your partnership, and we wish you well. We hope everything goes well with your workshop on tomorrow. And we certainly hope that some of our WMPR, as well as our Hattiesburg listeners, our Facebook listeners, and our YouTube listeners will reach out to you so that you can continue sharing your knowledge on credit, credit building, credit repair, and establishing banking relationships. You have a wonderful day, Mr. Wells.
Dr.
All righty. So that being said, my time is running out, you guys. I gotta go. And y'all know I'm headed to Atlanta. So I got to get myself up and get ready to get out of here. But before I leave, I gotta say a shout out to my cousin, Miss LaRonda Cooley, who has checked in from California. Hey, we are being watched around the country, you guys. So thankful to be here today. We are certainly hoping that we will represent all of our listeners, all of our viewers well when we take the national stage at the All Black National Conference on Saturday. Dr. Williams will be speaking at the All Black National Conference. And again, we look forward to being here next Monday to share with you the good things that happened while we were away. Take care. I look forward to being here with you next Monday. If it's 7 a.m., you know Dr. Williams will be right here talking money and more. Peace.
This is WMPR 90.1 FM, Jackson, Mississippi.